Hello everybody, this is Luke from the Stronghold Podcast. I'm here with my wife Charmaine, and I thought one thing we could do today is break down the fight and the finish between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Just Gaethje. Okay, so I want to walk you through the sequence, the finishing sequence, show you some things that Gaethje could have done to maybe prevent or at least make the fight last longer than it did, but specifically the defensive things he could have done to prevent the finish right there. Okay, so let's walk through the fight. So the finish started off with Gaethje throwing a low kick. Now this was obviously part of his game plan the whole time, but the risk of throwing the low leg or the high leg kick is that it's going to make it easy to ultimately shoot, right? And this was a big narrative in the fight, and ultimately this is what led to the finishing sequence. So Gaethje throws the low kick, Khabib times it, steps in, shoots, and gets sprawled on. Now for the first takedown, he doesn't have his hands together, right? So one more time, she kicks, boom, I step in, and we're here. Now, Khabib steps up, gets his grip, and then comes out the back door. And then from the body lock, which is one of Khabib's best weapons, I said in the podcast leading up to this, if Gaethje can't stop Khabib from getting his hands together, it was going to be really, really difficult to stay off the bottom, okay? Now this is where Khabib got his hands together, and from this position, he jumped on the back with both hooks in and started to roll. Okay, now, he had double underhooks here, which is what I have right now, right? Now, in here, there was a little bit of a scramble. Khabib is trying to come up, Gaethje's trying to come up, and in the process of coming up, Gaethje ends up mounted and stuck in an arm triangle. Okay? Now, one of the first mistakes that Gaethje did, go to the back again, let me have her back, is that, watch Charmaine's left elbow and left knee. Now, people that are a little bit more jiu-jitsu minded would have focused more on making sure that they recovered the guard when I get to the top position, okay? But Gaethje's more of a wrestler, so all he wanted to do was focus on the choke and then turn his back to start to do his wrestler stand-up. So we're here, we're in the scramble. As I'm coming up, one of the things Gaethje could have done was use his left elbow to push in and come up in the half guard. Now this is much more difficult to finish if she has the guard than it is if I pass to the mount. So if Gaethje had focused more on recovering the guard, you can finish it from the half guard still, but it's much more difficult, okay? So Gaethje neglected this in order to answer the phone with this hand and start trying to block the head grip, okay? So now we're here. Now Khabib presented a really interesting dilemma for Gaethje, and the fact that he was already caught in the arm triangle, and Gaethje has to try to decide how he's going to escape from it. And Khabib used a nice combination of the arm triangle and then the S-mount armbar, triangle armbar attack position. So, Khabib is here. He's on top. He's threatening with this choke. So Gaethje's answering the phone. He's trying to keep distance. Now, answer the phone with this hand, Charmaine, your right hand, but I need the next. Yeah. So, what Khabib did next was he slid up. Because Charmaine's elbow was up high because she's answering the phone, he was able to slide his knee up high. Here, like that. Okay, so now I'm up under her elbow, which is a no-no in jiu-jitsu. Okay, now the last thing she's got is this arm. And Gaethje started to try to post here to create space so he could start to get his escape. Okay, Khabib was underneath the arm and controlling. He pins the wrist to the stomach and then begins the process of throwing his leg over. Now, in the beginning, lay your head back. In the beginning, Gaethje still had his hand in here, okay? One of the things he could have done to escape at this point is when Khabib sat back with the armbar triangle threat here, Gaethje could have shoved his arm through instead of retreating it, and he could have come up in the closed guard. Okay, but what instead he did was, what he did was when he was here, when Khabib started to sit back, Gaethje pulled his arm out. Turn. He pulled his arm out, which is what set up the triangle. Now the next mistake was that when he came on top, Gaethje's head was down and his hips were high. Okay? For me to finish this triangle, I have to keep her head down. What Gaethje should have done was dropped his hips and shot his head up to the ceiling. Okay, and then from here, it's going to be much more difficult to finish. Not impossible, and there's other attacks I can do, but it's way more difficult. Okay, so Gaethje comes up. Khabib is doing all the right things. In the transition, he grabs his ankle and cinches it up in the triangle. Okay, now the last thing Justin Gaethje tried to do was he tried to squat and pick up and slam Khabib. And right at that point, Khabib underhooks the leg, flattens his back, gets the perfect perpendicular angle, which is what you want when you're doing the triangle. You want to be completely perpendicular. He's hugging the head to stop the posture. He's underhooking the leg, and he's got the triangle locked up for the easy finish. Okay, so really nice dilemma that could be put Gaethje in with threatening the arm triangle and the mounted triangle at the same time, and also the armbar, right? All of those threats were in place there, and as Gaethje responded to one, Khabib had the other one ready to go. So, great fight. Khabib's the best wrestler in the history of UFC, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters ever, and it was a great fight. So this is the Stronghold Podcast. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the technique. Bye.